Shaz.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Welcome to Down to Earth with D.
Thank you, Dia. It's great to be here.
I'm very, very, very honored and glad and grateful that you could join us. Let me just start by telling I was actually introducing the fact that we worked together on Mere Desh Ki Zameen. You contributed to the beautiful footage of our wild animals.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to select shots because you sent such amazing visuals for our wild anthem. And you were one of the many contributors to that wild anthem. I think when you think about Mere Desh Ke Zameen, it will always be a collaboration of wildlife enthusiasts, videographers, photographers, people who spent years, months, hours in India's forests documenting our biodiversity and our wildlife, and you're one of them.
Yeah.
So the other thing that always happens to me when I think Shaaz Jung is I think Black Panthers.
Of course.
Tell us about what drew you to them and how did you fall in love with Black Panther?
Wow. Okay. So, well, firstly, thank you for being here, and I hope everyone's well and safe um, back home. So, quickly, just jumping right into it. Panthers. Well, to be very honest, I spent a long time in the forests of South India. My parents started a wildlife lodge in the 80s, and back then no one had ever seen a black panther. So it was a passion that sort of developed over the last 6 years, something that I just had no idea that, would sort of spark within me. And it's been a magnificent journey because it all started in 2015 when a Black Panther sort of started establishing his territory about 15 kilometers away from our lodge in Kabini. And what that did is it gave me the opportunity to study and document this elusive cat like never before. Like no one had studied an animal like the Black Panther this intimately, other than, of course, camera trap footage in the forests of Malaysia. So I decided at that point, of course, my first love was leopards, and that's what got me into wildlife. I decided at that point that I'm going to dedicate the next sort of 5 years or so till this cat is sort of in his prime to researching and documenting.
It's tell me, there is one particular Black Panther that you spent a lot of time with in when I was there last year, I was told that I might see this Black Panther, and it's very famous. Can you tell us more about this particular cat and why are they considered elusive?
So the reason why a panther is so elusive is because, of course, it has a recessive gene. So which means that if it were to have offspring, it's unlikely that the cubs will be melanistic. So the melanistic gene is a recessive gene, which is why it's so difficult for them to sort of populate. However, what's very interesting about this one individual is the fact that he is striving against the odds of natural selection. He is surviving completely against the odds, and it's amazing because it's a deciduous forest. It's a dry and deciduous forest where he doesn't belong.
Kabini.
And Kabini, yes, exactly. So he doesn't really belong there, which is why you've never seen one over there. And when he started sort of popping up, people were like, this can't be true. No one really believed it until a photograph was taken by this one guest on safari who, when he first saw it, thought it was a black monkey. And the guide was like, listen, we don't have black monkeys over here. What are you talking about? But it happened to be a melanistic leopard. And what's interesting about them being only one individual in Kabini is the fact that I got to understand his little idiosyncrasies, his behavioral sort of traits, and what made him so different. And just like studying leopards through my life, they all have individualistic characters, like you and me. Like we sleep at different times, we eat at different times. So you can't classify them or study them as one species and, categorize them under one umbrella saying all leopards do this, while all tigers do this. No, it's wrong. They all had their little beautiful idiosyncrasies that made them so different. And understanding the panther.
Personality. This
Sorry?
guy is a fierce individual. He's got his own trademark characteristics. What's his name? Tell us his name. I've been waiting with bated breath.
We don't really, the park, the government doesn't really name the animals over there. However, because we follow them
by names, right? Because they become a tourist attraction. Everybody
Yeah. I mean, the name we call him is Saya, which is of course Shadow. And a lot of the guides and the local guides over there call him Blackie, which is the name he goes by.
It's a beautiful name, though. Both Saya and Blackie are very, very interesting. But Saya makes him sound more like the enigma that he is. Shaaz, what did you do when you got into photography and videography?
It happened after university. So at about 2021, I got into it. And, I always say this, like, of course, photography and art are both such powerful visual mediums. You go through the centuries, you look at right from the 16th century artists to now photography being used as art today. These visual sort of mediums have the ability to spark movement, create change, relish human life, and protect eco-biospheres and ecosystems. And that's what sort of drew me and lured me to it. And, a very quick example of the power of photography before I get into the journey of mine is you look at the 1800s, where the first example of how a national park was created and formed. It was because of a photograph that was taken by a photographer called Mr. Watkins in the Yosemite Valley. It was a picture of the Yosemite Valley in America. And he showed this photograph to Abraham Lincoln. And Lincoln saw this and was blown away by the beauty, this photograph. And then he passed the Yosemite grant. And that was the first time any federal government had passed a grant or a law to protect a large area of land. And that is what gave birth to protection and national parks, which is what we have in India today, national parks. And the importance of our national parks is they have the tiger, which is of course the umbrella species. By umbrella species, I mean that all species below it, of course, benefit if the tiger is over there because of its positive spillovers.
Predator, right.
Yeah. So growing up, knowing the impact of photography, because my mom was, she dealt with art. My father was a photographer. So I understood the power of this visual sort of platform. And for me, it was about showcasing the beauty of wildlife in order to link it to research, educate people, and most importantly, inspire people.
And that was your clear vision as soon as you started out. It's not like you were drawn to photography, you started photographing, and obviously you spent a lot of your childhood in the jungles. So your very natural instinct love for nature and that desire to capture it. It's all that, but also I guess a very conscious understanding that your documenting and photographing wildlife and biodiversity is going to help secure and protect it through your craft.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, you as a photographer, you mature. Initially, the youth at 2021, the youth in you is very strong. It's all about trying to chase that perfect picture and doing everything you can to get it. But over time, you mature as a photographer, and that's what kind of helps. And the beauty about photography is you don't need to be a photographer to take a picture. You know, you can be anyone with a camera at the right place at the right time, and you just take a picture which can spark change and do immense work for ecosystems, habitats, species, and so much. So yeah, photography is for everyone out there, not just a photographer.
I agree with you. I'm not really a photographer, but I have managed to capture some beautiful moments and visuals that I am so grateful that I managed to capture when I've been in the wild. And I think uh, my memory, or like my photo memory, would be incomplete without these visuals. And very often I'm able to use these visuals to make more people fall in love with nature and discover how much abundance we have and how beautiful our country is and how incredible our biodiversity is. What a big difference it is for us to
Absolutely.
protect this biodiversity.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and you don't need to be a professional to capture
No.
beautiful moments either. And I want to say this very emphatically to everyone who is watching us right now, that people from all over the world, Shaz, your fans, my fans, and I really want them to know that um, when we see anything with the lens of love, always manage to capture at least a second. And then when we manage to share that with people, more people are drawn to it. This is why photography and the arts are so intrinsically linked with conservation and conservation efforts. You shoot a lot for National Geographic, which means you spend hours and hours at end in the forest, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. I would give all kinds of, I would trade that for anything. I
Yeah,
would
I'm
love
not complaining.
more time in the forest. But tell me, if there's one virtue that the forest has taught you, I would assume it would be patience.
Hmm.
Tell me, what is that virtue that the forest has taught you?
Yeah, definitely patience. I think we as humans are obsessed with either living in the past or in the future. You know, it's very important to understand the value of the present right now. And that's what patience teaches you. It teaches you to just be there in the moment, enjoy it, value it, and respect it. And that's why the present is called the present, because it's a gift. So enjoy it. And that's what the jungle taught me, that today is a gift, it's a present. So be in it, enjoy it, spend time, because it it really in very, very mysterious ways does reward those who are patient. And no place does that better than nature. And for example, an example of this is, of course, the Black Panther, coming back to him. For National Geographic, when we made the film, I would be out from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening for 12 hours a day. I'd pack my lunch and go out for 7 days a week for 1.5 years. And I would see this panther, if lucky, once a week. So, and when I saw him, it would be for maybe 8 to 10 seconds, unless he was on a tree, and I'd see him for maybe a little longer. So to be out there for 12 hours a day, to get 10 seconds of footage, you know, it teaches you many, many virtues. One is, of course, patience. And two, something which I just want to throw in there is the value of time, and the fact that we shouldn't chime the hour. And humans, like, we love to look at the clock, chime the hour, see what's happening next. It teaches you to just enjoy the moment and live for the day. And this is something I learned also from the tribes in the area, not just the animals, but also the Jain Kurbas over there, which were the local tribes, indigenous tribes. And they live for the day. They were still back, haven't been sort of tainted by globalization yet, and still raw in their ways and beautiful in their ways, and they live for the day. It's chop wood, carry water.
It's amazing that you say this, because I think this pandemic that we are all collectively experiencing, humanity, and the fact that it's all um, made us stay home,
Yeah.
Values and the lessons that the forest has taught you, and that has taught me as well, has made it easier in many ways to respond to the situation. It's extraordinary. Taz, I really want to ask you, you do know that such a pandemic is caused by ecological imbalance. Do you feel that the world is going to recognize now more than ever before how important it is to conserve and protect our biodiversity and to bring back an ecological balance, because all health is connected to nature?
I think,
और हम
yeah.
रोज ये बात सुन रहे हैं, जान है तो जहान है, जान है तो जहान है. I'm like, जहान ये दुनिया है, पृथ्वी है, अर्थ है, और अगर यही नहीं बचेगा तो जान कहाँ से बचेगी?
Yeah, absolutely, and rightfully so. I think, are we going to recognize that we need to change? I think we have to. We have to recognize that change is required. And the reason why we're here having this discussion is because of our united love for nature. The reason the world is going through what it is today is because of its overall lack of respect for nature. And nature has now sent us one of its biggest warnings. And we are lucky, believe it or not, to an extent that it's not as bad as it could have been, because 75% of diseases which humans get come from animals, and there are far deadlier diseases out there. And as we strive to return to some semblance of normality, it's very, very important that we go back to a new normal, not the old normal, because the old normal was not good enough. We have to raise the standards for the world we live in. And this new normal could involve more science, less narrow-minded nationalism. It could involve doing away with draconian laws and implementing new laws that help mitigate the man-animal conflict through limiting mining, to an extent farming, development, and which will ultimately limit the contact between man and animal. It could be believing more in the environment and less in economics. So whatever it is, as a human race, it is absolutely vital that we come out of this pandemic as a more wiser, sort of stronger and more compassionate, as a race. And
more
we have to recognize.
And all that provides us.
Yeah.
I've actually been thinking a lot about this, and I was wondering what is the one that I definitely do more of. And I think one way that we can make a difference at an individual level, apart from which is using our voice, our craft, and the importance of ecology and spreading that love, like just sharing it with more people, is, I think for me personally, it's going to be about consuming less. I'm going to find a way to strive to consume much less than I perhaps ever did. I think there was already a big shift in me, which kind of took place about 4 or 5 years ago. But even more so now, I think at a personal level, I want to eat more local. I've already turned vegetarian. I think food choice is very personal, but I definitely do know for a fact that I'm going to find every way possible to consume.
Yeah, absolutely.
I gave up using air conditioning on the 28th of March completely in my personal spaces. Summer hasn't hit us yet, but interestingly, this lockdown has made the air cooler. Of course, the air is cleaner, but it has been cooler in Mumbai, and it's not that difficult to be without air conditioning.
Yeah,
so one
absolutely.
thing I've decided to consume less. Is there anything that you have decided to do less of?
Yeah, I think the way of life I live in the forest is sort of on those lines anyway. We're always very, very in sync with nature, and we see natural disasters happening around us all the time. And of course, there's, the way the human race is sort of consuming its resources and the planet's resources. It's very important to sort of, uh, do what you're doing, which is to consume less. And that's something which we've been doing. It's trying to shift towards being more organic. It's taking care of your waste management. This can be done anywhere,
That's
even
another
in
thing
your,
that we do. We segregate waste at home. We make sure we
yeah,
compost our kitchen waste.
yeah,
We make sure that we separate even our biomedical waste. I think that's one thing that we can all definitely and very easily do at home.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
know that your resort, your natural resort, is very sustainable. Tell us more about what you do at Kabini.
Yeah, so the resort is basically built on the guidelines of ecotourism, and that is basically using structures which merge more into the environment, so which is very less cement and RCC, more sort of wooden structures, low inventory of beds, so to not have huge number of rooms and people coming there. It's only 10 rooms, 12 rooms, and of course, to hire most of the people from the local area. So 90%, 98% of our staff are from within 3 square kilometers.
So you're
And
generating local employment, you're empowering the local people, um, and
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 alternate sources of energy, like we use solar.
that's amazing, Shakir. There's so much more that I can talk to you about, but it's alive, and we've got to keep it contained so that more people will come back to
Yeah,
revisit this conversation. And I hope to be able to put it up in a couple of days or maybe a few, so that it's there out there for posterity. But I just want to say thank you, Shahad, for
thanks, yeah.
being a part of my journey and the journey of every single wildlife enthusiast in India, and so many people from abroad now who come to India, who go to Karnataka, who go to Kabini, who spend time with you, recognize and respect your work, and care for your passion to conserve and protect wildlife.
Thanks.
And I hope you continue to make the difference that you are, and continue to collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. Always. I mean, you've always been so kind and giving me this platform to sort of share my thoughts. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for being who you are and being, so tuned in. And it's so refreshing to see, which is why it's always enjoyable collaborating and more to come.
Yes, yes, yes. And we shall overcome this extraordinary situation. And I
Yeah,
hope
we will.
we're all strengthened by our love for nature, and we
Mhm.
can continue to make a difference, especially now more than ever before. We need to
Yeah,
strike a balance.
absolutely.
Lots of love, Shaz. And to
Lots of
everyone
love, dear.
who joined us, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yeah. Do you want to say something to everybody before you go?
No, no, no. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, always just
You
you
can
guys
go
are.
at Shaaz Jung and see his amazing, amazing photography. His photography is, every single frame is like a piece of art. It's like a painting. It's just, oh my God. If you want to fall in love, go to Shaaz at Shaaz Jung.
Thanks, Dia. That's so kind of you as always. Thanks, guys. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we'll be in touch. We'll do this again.
Thank you, Shaaz.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, for all of you who joined in, thank you.